Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sara Lihz and I am so excited to share this card with you. We are going to make a very simple box card using some new products from Pixidustdesigns. Designs. Every now and then I make a card and I surprise myself. This is it. I totally surprised myself. I kind of pictured how it would all work in my head, but it just, oh, I love this. So we're using Camping Day, which is a brand new die set from Pixidustdesigns. Designs. And then I'm going to use the Woodland Critters dies that are an oldie but a goodie, a favorite, top pick of mine from Pixidust. But you could also use the Woodland Friends Stamp Set if you prefer stamping and coloring. We're going to start with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 4.5 inches, and 8 inches. Okay, that will create our box card. And I am just going to fold on all of those lines like mountain folds, right? So they're all going the same direction, and you can see it all kind of folds up like a little box. I need to create a hole in the middle, and I have this oval die that is the perfect size, but check your mini slimline dies, or if you have a cutter with like a sliding blade, you can cut your hole in it that way, or you can cut 2 circles, one on either end, and then just connect them with like your craft knife or a cutter. But we just need to create a space to see through the front of the card. This piece is 5.5 by 3.5. And that will fit perfectly on the back. And that's what we're going to use to create our background. Now, to try to respect your time, I did all of my ink blending for the background off camera. I do have a longer version of this tutorial on my channel at Sassy's LLC if you want to see how I ink blended that. But really, I wanted to show you what we're doing with these dies. They come together so quickly and easily. The trees are just 2 pieces. I added a little bit of ink blending because there's a campfire in this set, and the campfire is going to go right in the middle. And so on the largest tree, there is a little spot in the bottom right corner that is lighter than the rest of the tree. I did the same thing on the other trees, but I was wrong. I'm gonna go back in and just make those all the same color here pretty soon. My tent's going to go on the right-hand side, and part of it's going to hang off the card. But the part of the tent that's in the back on the far right would be more in the shadows, more in the dark. And so I'm coming in with 2 sort of lighter brown colors to create that shading. And then I will add on, there's just 2 additional pieces for the tent poles, and then a couple pieces for the tent flaps. Nothing in this set is difficult to put together. Like it's so cute and so well done, and really pretty quick and easy. So I am using my reverse tweezers as I put this together for a couple of reasons, but primarily for the tent because these pieces are long and skinny, and my little wax pickup tool, it's hard to get the angle right as I'm laying that down. So this just seemed a little bit easier. And then here is the front of the tent. So really this is kind of like the inside of the tent. I could have made it a little darker, but I wanted to bring a bit of lightness towards the center of the card. And then here are the tent flaps that would have been like folded back when you go to open that up. I am thinking about making this tent and cutting that hole straight into the tent and then creating like a little shaker and a peekaboo with a critter in there for my next card. So there's so many possibilities with this set. It's really, really cute. Then I'm going to start laying down my trees. Now, the critters that I'm using, the die cut critters, are kind of big in comparison to the trees and the tent. And that's why I like a box card for this. We're playing with perspective to make this work. The largest tree is towards the front. I'm adding just a little bit of foam because I use really heavyweight cardstock and I wanted to even out like how it was laying on the card. Then the medium tree is behind that, so it's further away. And then the smallest tree, you can see, as soon as I get my hand out of the way, is going to be kind of behind the tent. So it could be like way off in the distance. And then when we put the card together, the critters are going to be on the front where we've cut that hole out of the card. So they're far in front of these things, and it makes it work so that these elements are smaller because they're further away. So again, I'm hanging that tent kind of off my card. I want to make sure I have room in my scene for plenty of other things. I'm going to add my moon, and then there are some little star pieces. They look like unicorn sparkles, and I meant to add them and completely forgot. It's one of my favorite shapes. I hope you know what I'm talking about. The sort of like, it's a unicorn sparkle. Yeah, like a glitter sparkle almost, little stars to go in the background. And then there's these two little clouds. I just cut them out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to look at them and look at them. And then I'm going to decide, nope, they need a little extra something. I could have done some shading on those clouds, but again, I didn't want to add too much darkness. This is a really cute card. And so I was like, you know what? I think the clouds can be nice and bright. It'll be fine. I am going to just add this in to the middle of my card, and I'm going to add the glue straight onto the card base so I don't accidentally get glue somewhere it's not supposed to go, and then I end up gluing this whole thing shut. It lines up perfectly. Test that background before you glue it down, right? Push those flaps over the top of it. Make sure that they can fold over it. I did trim off camera just a little bit to make sure I had a really good fit. And then I'm going to take this to my trimmer and cut off the excess of that tent. Just there's a little bit in there where I've got 2 layers of cardstock, and I wanted to make sure I got a really clean cut there. So here you can see I've sort of wrapped the box around itself, and I am going to push up on that bottom flap, and I've added some double-sided adhesive to what is sort of the top flap. When it's open, that is the 1/2 inch at the very top. Okay. I also added wet glue. I want instant grab from the tape, but I want wiggle room from the wet glue. So I'm going to press lightly first and then harder once I know where it is. I'm folding just inside that oval we cut. I have the bottom flap folded in, and then this will fold completely flat. I'm getting glue all over my fingers, not a big deal. For me, worth it to make sure that this folds perfectly. Okay, so play with your box first before you put the glue and stuff on there. Make sure you know where the flaps overlap and how it folds flat. And when you're adding your adhesive, make sure you're adding it and securing everything while the card is flat. That way you know it will fit in your envelope later. This has a very little bulk. You can mail it like any other card, and I love that. So here's our campfire. We have these 2 little dogs, and then there's the big flame and the little flame, and I am just using my pokey tool to try to like pick those up. You guys, I figured it out. I struggled this whole video trying to use my wax pickup stick to pick things up. It was covered in glue. I was like, why is it not working? What's wrong with it? Yeah, I clean it off. I needed like a pencil sharpener for my pickup stick. That's okay. That's okay. We got it handled. So here I'm bringing in my critters. The Woodland Critters set has a ton of animals and some mushrooms. I mean, it's chock full of the cutest little critters. This is the squirrel, and the squirrel is going to be on the left-hand side of my campfire. And so I'm ink blending to try to create a little bit darker shadows on the left and then keep him brighter on the right. What I should have done was wait for my ink to dry, because it looks like we've shaded pretty well. And then here with the porcupine, I'm doing the opposite, right? Lighter on the left, darker on the right. And that looks like decent shading. But as soon as that ink dries, because it's wet right now, right? Wet paper always looks darker. It dries back quite a bit. So I still think it turned out really cute, but something to keep in mind, especially when your cardstock's already a little bit dark. Make sure you are looking at it when it's dry before calling it done. There are just a couple little pieces. These are designed so brilliantly. Like that squirrel, his right hand is, I didn't have to do anything crazy there. I layered one piece of light cardstock on one piece of dark cardstock. Then it was the eyes and the nose. Okay, hot tip, if you don't like dealing with those teeny tiny die cuts for the eyes and stuff, just use a little pen, right? My fine liner would have worked beautifully there. And there are little deboss lines to show you where they go. So you can just kind of color those in instead of lifting them with your pokey tool. It's really simple. This is the cutest little marshmallow. I know. It cuts 3 marshmallows for you, and then there's a little stick so we can roast them. My poor porcupine hedgehog, the debate continues. My poor porcupine hedgehog doesn't have free hands to hold a stick. I thought about giving him one anyway, but in the end, the angle got weird. So my squirrel is gonna hold the stick with the marshmallow, and I'm gonna start gluing my elements down. I'm adding glue only to the bottom where it's overlapping the front of our box. And I like wet glue for this, right? It gives me just a little bit of wiggle room because we are working in sort of limited space. But I'm sticking my finger back there partly to press it and make sure it's secured well, but also to make sure that no glue smeared up into like that oval opening. Okay. So then my squirrel is getting glued down and his tail overlaps part of the box too. I go kind of shy first, right? So I only added it to his feet, and then I'll just stick the tip of my glue bottle in there for the tail, so I don't accidentally end up with glue where I don't want it. Then I'm going to add this little stick to his hand, and it's like it was made for him. It overlaps the fire, so then I will struggle to figure out how to get that in there. I was trying to show you, but there wasn't a good way to do it. And then I will glue just the marshmallow onto the fire, and that will make it a little bit sturdier. Off camera, I stamped and heat embossed a happy birthday, and I layered that up on first some gray and then some silver cardstock, and I will add that to the corner. So I've got glue right along the top, and then in that right-hand corner, just a small sentiment here. It doesn't need anything fancy. The scene is really kind of where it's at, but you could also wait, right? Wait until you know who this is for, what occasion you need it for, and add a sentiment later. I have cut a piece of cardstock that is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4 to stick on the back. This is a very light gray, and I'm going to use removable adhesive. I'm going to write my message here, but I want to be able to take it off the card to write, so I'm not trying to write over all that dimension. Look how flat that is in our envelope. And then I take it out, and it pops up pretty easily, and it's got all this dimension. A little cute camping scene and a lovely place to leave a good-sized birthday message for somebody. I hope you enjoyed this card. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Pixie Dust channel for more inspiration, and I will see you next time.